Hello and welcome to another episode of Brainstorm EDH. My name is Ike and I want this channel to offer some fun, casual commander deck building ideas in order to brainstorm over the many possible commanders throughout Magic's awesome history. Nothing competitive, just for fun with friends. And as you'll notice, there's no particular budget we're working off of. It's just whatever we find fun. As with every deck, everyone will have their own preferences regarding what cards they'll include within their deck. So please take the recommendations within this video as simply suggestions. If you have any suggestions to offer the community regarding the commander we're about to discuss, then please comment on the video and tell us what they are. For this episode, we're talking Dragon Tribal, and our commander will be the Prismatic Bridge. Well, technically the commander will be Esika, God of the Tree, but we only care about the other half of the card. The way this works is, because Esika, God of the Tree is the front face of the card, it can be our commander. However, because we can choose to cast the other side of the card from the command zone, we can essentially have that enchantment as our commander. The Prismatic Bridge is a legendary enchantment costing a white, blue, black, red, and green mana with an ability that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. To no one's surprise, that is very powerful and a ton of fun. This deck will be stuffed full of dragons, with only 7 non-dragon creatures. Our primary focus is to get the Prismatic Bridge out as soon as humanly possible, and then eventually we'll be able to cheat costs and cast spells from our hand as a secondary focus. Now, as a word of warning, this deck may take a while to kick off, but once the machine starts up, it is hard to stop. This deck runs multiple methods of increasing the number of upkeeps we get in a single turn in order to summon even more dragons, and also has several haste enablers to ensure that we don't have to wait an entire turn cycle before we can attack. But enough introductions, let's jump into our deck building categories. They are card draw and advantage, ramp, removal, non-dragon value, dragon value, and lands. Just like in my Shrines deck episode, our dragons will be mixed throughout the various categories rather than being inside their own distinct category. Now, dragons greatly increase the average mana value of our deck, however, being able to get them out onto the battlefield for free with our commander solves that issue. As for the other mana expensive spells, we have several ways of getting enormous amounts of mana or cheating costs, so this will rarely be an issue. It's also worth noting that there are no basic lands in this deck. We're just running good multicolor lands that will enter the battlefield untapped to guarantee our commander gets played as early as possible. And with that, let's go over our card draw and advantage for the deck. This category contains Garruk's Uprising, Night's Whisper, Read the Bones, Sunbird's Invocation, Sarkhan Unbroken, Ancient Silver Dragon, and Ureni of the Unwritten. Notice there's not nearly as much card draw or advantage as I would normally recommend running in a deck. This is due to the fact that we don't want to fill up our hand. We want the Prismatic Bridge to find our creatures off the top of our library. Thus, there's only enough here to give us the occasional boost we may need and nothing more. Sunbird's Invocation and Ureni of the Unwritten are excellent sources of card advantage. They allow us to cheat out expensive cards for free. Sunbird's Invocation may not be implemented until the late game. However, Ureni of the Unwritten is able to be cheated into play via our commander very early if we're lucky enough. Regarding Ancient Silver Dragon, that card alone draws us almost too many cards, so we'll need to be very careful on deciding when to attack with it. Garruk's Uprising is great thanks to granting all of our creatures trample in addition to drawing us cards. This will be very helpful in our aggressive dragons deck. Next up is Ramp. Here we have Chromatic Lantern, Smothering Tide, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, Leyline of Mutation, Temur Battlecrier, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Ancient Copper Dragon, Broodcaller Scourge, Cavern Horde Dragon, Goldspan Dragon, Clouth Unrivaled Ancient, and finally Old Gnawbone. Chromatic Lantern is here simply as a backup for when we somehow fail to set up our color fixing. Overlord of the Hauntwoods is outstanding in 5-color decks, and here we can even hit it off of the Prismatic Bridge. Leyline of Mutation is a great way to cheat expensive mana costs, and there's even a very rare chance of starting out a game with it on the battlefield. Temur Battlecrier is definitely an MVP of this category, as we can just unload our hand onto the battlefield in the mid to late game thanks to this card. As for every dragon listed within this category, they are all simply amazing. If we're lucky enough to hit any of them with the Prismatic Bridge early in the game, then we're set, but even in the mid to late game is fantastic. And now we arrive at removal, which contains Aura Shards, Ruinous Ultimatum, Warstorm Surge, Balefire Dragon, Drakuseth Maw of Flames, Incinerator of the Guilty, Scalelord Beckoner, Silumgar the Drifting Death, Steel Hellkite, Terror of the Peaks, and Wrathful Red Dragon. Notice that most of these cards in this category are dragons. This ensures that it's possible to get them out quickly via the Prismatic Bridge and easily control the board from there. Warstorm Surge, Terror of the Peaks, and Wrathful Red Dragon will usually be used to target opponents. However, they can easily be used to control the board when necessary. Incinerator of the Guilty can act as another copy of Balefire Dragon when we really need to take care of an opponent's battlefield, and we have cards in the graveyard. Next up, we have non-dragon value. The cards contained herein are Abyssin, Angel of Hope, Bower Passage, Call the Spirit Dragons, Dragon Tempest, Eerie Ultimatum, Emergent Ultimatum, Enduring Courage, Gimli's Reckless Might, Karlach Fury of Avernus, Leyline of the Guild Pact, Mirror Room Fractured Realm, Obeka Splitter of Seconds, Omniscience, One with the Multiverse, Paradox Haze, Shadow of the Second Sun, Sphinx of the Second Sun, and finally Whip of Erebos. In order to try and ensure that we're as aggressive as possible, we're going to include multiple haste enablers, those being Dragon Tempest, Enduring Courage, and Gimli's Reckless Might. If we don't get any of these early in the game, don't worry, it's not the end of us yet. Due to us being able to cheat permanents into play via various means, including One with the Multiverse and Omniscience will work out well for us. Obeka Splitter of Seconds, Paradox Haze, Shadow of the Second Sun, and Sphinx of the Second Sun will multiply our upkeep several times over, causing our horde of dragons to grow very quickly. Bower Passage is a fantastic tool to essentially make our dragons unblockable. Next, we have dragon value. This category includes Roaming Throne, Ancient Brass Dragon, Ancient Bronze Dragon, Ancient Gold Dragon, Astral Dragon, Atarka World Render, Blast Furnace Hellkite, Dragon Lord Dramoka, Hellkite Tyrant, Lathalis Dragon Queen, Miram Sentinel Worm, Skithiryx the Blight Dragon, Terror of Mount Velis, Twin Flame Tyrant, and finally Utvara Hellkite. This category is full of just generally good dragon cards that I deeply enjoy playing. Roaming Throne is included here because it basically turns into a dragon when we play it. And lastly, we have lands. This category contains Bark Channel Pathway, Blightstep Pathway, Branchloft Pathway, Bright Climb Pathway, Clearwater Pathway, Crag Crown Pathway, Darkboar Pathway, Hengigit Pathway, Needleverge Pathway, Riverglide Pathway, Bountiful Promenade, Luxury Suite, Morphic Pool, Rejuvenating Springs, Sea of Clouds, Spectator Seating, Spire Garden, Training Center, Undergrowth Stadium, Vault of Champions, Deathcap Glade, Deserted Beach, Dreamroot Cascade, Haunted Ridge, Overgrown Farmland, Rockfall Vale, Shattered Sanctum, Shipwreck Marsh, Storm-Carved Coast, Sundown Pass, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Ghost Quarter, Reliquary Tower, and finally the World Tree. Once again, we're running only non-basic lands in this deck. However, you can absolutely swap these out for basic lands to make the deck more affordable, in addition to opening it up to including more ramp spells. Ghost Quarter is here for whenever we come across an annoying Maze of Ith. However, lands such as Maze of Ith won't be a large problem due to the fact that we're going to have an army of dragons. Therefore, stopping one of them isn't usually a hindrance. This is why there's only one land destruction land here. However, absolutely feel free to run more if your playgroup runs a lot of Maze of Ith type effects. And that's it for deck building categories. Let's talk gameplay. As mentioned, this deck may very well not be able to do much until turn 4 or 5. However, it should be nearly unstoppable from that point onward. Our primary focus ought to be playing the Prismatic Bridge as soon as possible, followed by slowly but surely playing out the high value cards in our hand, one at a time usually, while our commander builds up our board. The first cards we should try to play out of our hand are Haste Enablers, followed by spells that increase the quantity of our upkeep steps. This deck is also designed to be aggressive. Once we start building up our horde of dragons, we need to immediately target whichever opponent is most likely to be able to stop us, followed by the next likely, and so on. I also want to point out that, if you do want to try to save money while constructing this deck, then you can use more budget-friendly dragons or dragons that you just find cool and still have fun. Sure, this deck list has some of the quote-unquote best dragons, but don't feel pressured to buy these. Use whatever you have access to or enjoy. Have some fire-breathing fun no matter what dragons you choose to include. And with that, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you found this helpful. Are there cards you'd include that I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments. Do you disagree with any of my inclusions? Feel free to let me know. As mentioned, this channel is dedicated to brainstorming all the possibilities. So if you have any brainstorming to add in yourself, please do so. Have a great day, and I hope to have you all tune in again for the next video.